2 Corinthians 5:14 and 15. We are convinced, says Paul, that one died for all and therefore all died. And he died for all, that those who live should no longer live for themselves, but for him who died for them and was raised again. All for one and one for all. Jesus is the one who died for all. So his sacrifice represents the sacrifice of all. And why is that? Well, it's because Jesus is Son of Man, because Jesus is humanity. Sometimes we tend to think that we are normal and that Jesus is normal with a bit added. You know, the bit where he did his miracles. He is man, like a kind of Clark Kent, and any minute he's going to pull his shirt aside and you're going to realise that he's Superman underneath. But you see, it's not quite like that. We are not human, we are subhuman. Jesus is the real man. Jesus is God's idea of completed humanity. It's different when you think of what's... There is a difference between the real, the actual, and the ideal. And we are the actual, and Jesus is the ideal. We've degenerated. I hope you don't mind me saying that. We make so much fuss and talk so much about evolution. You know, every day in every way we're getting better and better. But really, the Bible teaches devolution. We're devolving. We are getting worse. We're spiralling away into darkness. And it started with Adam's choice. You know, the powerful statement of the ancient Hebrew narrative is that man made a choice away from God. But in the beginning, God made man, God made Adam, the Hebrew word for man, God made man, and he pronounced him good. So in Jesus, God sees real humanity. He sees humanity as it should be. He sees the possibility perfected. It's hard for us to grasp this, isn't it? Because we think we're quite kind of all right. But there is a seed in us. There is an element in us. There is a embryonic thing in us. We are still made in the image of God. And that's when Jesus moved among the multitudes, he pointed to the original intention in somebody. He said, this man too is a son of Abraham. Don't get on him. He is a real man. You know, he pointed to what was lost, what was broken, what was ruined, and he pointed to what could really be. That's what healing is all about. It's the same kind of concept. That which was broken can be restored. Imagine, if you will, apparently, if you read National Geographic magazine, you will find that there are actually shrubs that survive in the Antarctic. Isn't that interesting? And so you have these microscopic pieces of red moss that survive there. Imagine that little piece of red moss, no bigger than my thumbnail, transported from the Antarctic and put into luxuriant jungle growth in Central Africa. What would happen to it? It would flourish. And that which was stunted and broken and clinging on to life barely would all of a sudden assume a whole new amazing display of life. Are you understanding what I'm waffling on about? Jesus comes into our life, and we are not real people. We are subhuman, but something can flourish in the light of the presence of God that wasn't hardly there before. This tiny little stunted seed flourishes under new conditions. So we've got that tiny seed within us. If I took you out into my garden, you would see some really sad apple trees, stunted and withered and blighted and covered with moss. But there is something inside. Do you get it? So you have to look at Jesus to understand what humanity is, what it really is. And it comes in surprising places. It comes when you least expect it. Jesus said, I have come to do your will, O Lord. he says, "Not my will, but yours," or "I only do what I see the Father doing." It is finished. So you see, the value of humanity is only expressed when it is offered, when it is given. The real humanity only comes out when it is sacrificed. We barely understand this. We've got such a strong sense of self-preservation, but even us, we understand like a mother sacrificing herself to save her baby, or a parent standing in the way for their child. We understand what love does, and we see it in the life of Jesus. And when you do, when you see what Jesus does, you recognize something that is in you, something that's in you, something that's wonderful that's still in you. And it's almost suppressed, and it's lovely, and it's almost forgotten, but it's good, it's right. It's like if I heard a piece of music, I can't write it, but I can experience it, and I can understand it, pulls something out of me, and I can say with absolute humility, I am a musician too, and I can't do that, but I understand it, and it draws me towards it. I've taken the funeral of people who don't believe in God many times, and many times I've witnessed people reaching out because they have experienced the eternal. It's just come for a glimmer, and they're reaching out for something that they barely understand, and it's there, and they're stirring, and they can't express it, but they sense it. I hope you're understanding me. This is what the righteousness of Jesus does to me. That's how it impacts me. And the stunted little tree of my spirit begins to flourish in his fellowship, in his loveliness, in his presence, because that's who I really am. That's who I was intended to be. It's what God made of me. And all I can offer is like, imagine if I've offered a little stick drawing, okay, because I'm bad at doing it. And then along comes this great Leonardo da Vinci, God himself in Jesus. And he uses my little stick drawing and creates a masterpiece out of it. Do you see it? All I can do is offer my sketch. But he fills those rough lines with this wonderful colour and drive and presence, the life, the righteousness of God made into my righteousness. We have this treasure in jars of clay. Do you hear it? Christ died for all, that all might die, that all might live in his life. We'll get back to it tomorrow. God bless.